All right, welcome to Coffee and a Weather Map with Jeff. As you can tell, well, maybe you can't. I am Jeff, and here I am at my kitchen table in the RV here in northern Michigan, and we are going to get on with the weather right now. So, kind of go through everything. The main thing that we got going on is the heat. The heat will be here for the next several days. We'll take a look at some of the more details at the end with the individual office graphics from the Weather Service offices in Gaylord and in Corpus Christi, since I also cover South Texas. Otherwise, if you take a look at the upper air pattern, we have an area of low pressure out in the west, and that is going to help influence our heat as it moves to the east and to the north. As it lifts out, will help to amplify that ridge a bit and continue having that area of high pressure over the eastern half of the United States in the upper levels, and that will allow all the heat to maintain over the region. As we take a look at the GFS this morning, we can see that low pressure out in the west in Idaho as it moves and then lifts up north. You can see the jet stream continues to stay north, so that provides a lot of heat as we go into the evening, and then we'll have those redder colors are higher winds in the upper levels, which will help to fuel the thunderstorms in the Dakotas and Minnesota. That should continue to move on. However, by tomorrow we will start getting into the chance for a slight risk for severe weather as we go in. And I think I needed to add that graphic, which I'm not sure I'm going to do on the fly right now. But that's the main issue is the heat as we go through. And just to take a look at the hazards across the United States at this point, and we'll just do a quick refresh. Yep, you'll see some of those forecast offices have some blocks. They don't have something in effect. That may be either due to local climatological reasons that they have slightly different criteria than the surrounding offices, or it could also be the fact that they may not have one in effect yet, but it will go into effect later this afternoon, which means it won't show up there until closer to that time. And when it does, this will look a little bit more filled in. But for the most part, heat advisories in the eastern part of the United States. Looking at the surface map from this morning, you can kind of see the upper air pattern kind of traces out where those fronts are at, with the low in Idaho, and then continues off to the north into Canada, and then runs right along southern Canada before it starts to dive down. There is a low pressure system that's just north of New England, and that is producing some heavy rain thunderstorms like we had in Michigan 2 nights ago. And that was one of the things that we were concerned with yesterday morning specifically as the thunderstorms came in. But once they moved out, things dried up. Winds kicked up pretty well, although it doesn't look nearly as windy as yesterday. So we'll see how that goes, but everything is tied down here at the camp. And kind of take a look at the satellite loop as well. A fair amount of cloud cover out in the west where the lows are, and to the north, just north of those fronts, you can see thunderstorms are starting to build out in the Dakotas, and that's where the main concern is today. They've got a slight risk up there. Would not be surprising if during the night, during the afternoon, as these thunderstorms start to get rolling again, that they'll have another mesoscale convective system, as it's called, an MCS of some sort, where all these thunderstorms will get together into a big complex and can cause some damage as it moves down the region. And that is kind of with what we were expecting. And we'll look at today currently. This is where they're expecting most of it. And this goes through until 8 a.m. on Monday, and then for 8 a.m. Monday, we'll look at day 2, and you can see that is then over most of the Upper Peninsula and all of northern lower Michigan for the most part, for a slight risk. That would probably be mainly in the morning and probably into a portion of the early afternoon before everything got out of here, especially with that marginal around it. And then if we look at day 3, as things move on, that front gets pushed down to the south. We could run into just some general thunderstorms here in northern Michigan, while downstate could still have a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms. We aren't too concerned about that at this point. Otherwise, it is hurricane season, and I didn't talk about it on the last time I did one of these, but you can see several tropical waves that are moving there between the equator and 15 degrees north latitude. Those have been tending to stay down to the south, and then once they get over in the eastern Pacific, have been firing off hurricanes in the eastern Pacific. If you've been following the news, you saw that there was one that came ashore in southern Oaxaca states and over near Acapulco. So just keep an eye on things. This system, however, in the middle, and you can see that those areas of low pressure that are sitting in the Atlantic, and we'll switch over the satellite, they are kind of a little, at least worrisome as far as if you are concerned with getting something going. Now, the one thing is, if you notice the further north you go, everything tends to move from west to east. So the idea would be is that if something could form out of there, and it's a pretty low chance right now, that they would probably move off into the North Atlantic and fall apart pretty quickly. And if we look at the HPC, or not HPC, in the Hurricane Center's graphics this morning, they have a 10% chance for cyclone formation in 7 days in the subtropical Atlantic. So, just near Bermuda, right and around the Bermuda High, there's just an area of low pressure. If it can get itself organized, then maybe it can develop into something. But like I said, the tendency would be for having it to move off towards the northeast into the colder waters and fall apart pretty quickly. All right, so we'll take a look at the rest of the details for northern Michigan and South Texas. We have South Texas weather in northern Michigan, in fact, as we have the heat indices rising up to around 100 degrees. It doesn't happen like that very often. Our high temperatures themselves are more like in the mid to upper 90s across the area, but we've got some higher humidity than we usually do, and so now we're up in the hundreds, almost approaching 105, which in South Texas would be a heat advisory if it got over 105. Here, it's a heat advisory if it's over, I think 100, maybe 95. I don't remember the specifics anymore. It's been a few years since I've been was doing those types of advisories up here, and that's the main concern. And then for today, if you are heading out to the beach, water temperatures are probably still in the 60s, so it's probably not many people going in there. But if you do try to venture in, there is a high swim risk today with the 3 to 5 foot waves. We do tend to get a lot of rip currents during those times here in the Great Lakes. The main threat would be along the Lake Michigan beach, from Grand Traverse Lights south to Manistee, and also along Mackinac County, where there's quite a large area of beachfront that people like to go to along US 2. As we look, and there is a high air quality advisory today because of our heat and humidity. If we want to, looking at the forecast down in South Texas, we have isolated showers today, mainly along the coastal bend, with temperatures ranging from 90 to 95 there. The heat indices are probably comparable to what we have here with 95 to 100, something like that for heat indices. Not really expecting a whole lot out of that. Out in the brush country and in the Rio Grande Plains, we're looking at temperatures that'll be 95 to 100 degrees. As we look into tonight, temperatures, again, similar to with what we've got here in northern Michigan, with mid-70s out in the brush country and in the northern portions of the Victoria Crossroads, all the way to around 80 at Corpus Christi, Rockport, and Port Lavaca. Looking out at 5 days, though, it's not really going to change much. We are in that summery pattern with southeast winds, tropical southeast wind flow, an isolated to scattered showers and thunderstorms through the rest of the week, and temperatures ranging basically through the 90s almost every day out through Friday. And the beach cast there going into the Middle Texas coast is in the upper 80s, southeast winds around 15 miles per hour. We do have an extreme UV. We're at that time of the year with the high sun angle. Water temperatures are in the mid 80s, and wave heights will be 2 to 4 feet. And the rip current risk is low. So with all that being said, let's see if I can find my trusty graphic. Oh, of course it kicked right out. Okay, here we go. So that's it for Coffee and a Weather Map with Jeff. Have a great day.